Karnataka is battling a severe shortage in electricity production in the backdrop of rainfall deficit and drought in several districts. The power consumption in the state has gone up from 10,000 megawatts to 16,000 megawatts in October, as per reports. Amidst the crisis, Bengaluru's BESCON has assured that there is no need to panic and sufficient power will be supplied. Well, Bangalore has seen a number of crises right before the elections, and they continue to sither in the state of Karnataka. Also, Mr. S.M. Jamdar, former Power Secretary of Karnataka, joins us on the show. Revati Ashok, CEO and MD of BPAC, Bangalore Political Action Committee, also with us on the program. Mr. Sudhakar Shetty, ex-president, FKCCI, is also joining us. Dr. Jacob Krasta, ex-co-chairman, ASSOCHAM, also with us on the show. And last but not the least, Mr. M.G. Prabhakar, energy expert, also with us on the broadcast. Dr. Krasta, I'm going to start with you, sir, if you can hear me. First up, thank you for joining us. What do you think is the problem? And why is it happening to Karnataka? Of course, there has been rainfall deficit. It is important for the production of electricity and to generate those megawatts to service people. What has happened here?
As you rightly stated, the power requirement in Karnataka has increased, up to 15,000 megawatts. Whereas last October, last year, the requirement was only 8,500 megawatts. So it is almost double. Why it is become double is probably because of the drought in Karnataka and the less rainfall. Because of the less rainfall and the drought, farmers are started using the power more for agriculture. Whereas industrial production also marginally increased to the extent of 6.6% of GDP. So industries have not increased the production power requirement, whereas the farmers have increased their power requirement in the Karnataka because of the drought. And the second reason is probably the quality of the coal purchased this time is very, very low, because of which the productivity in the power generation unit in Raichur has reduced. And maybe some of the units are maybe out of order. I mean, they are not, probably is not published. And why they are purchasing the coal at the lowest rate or even the cheap rate of the coal is because of the financial structure of Karnataka. Because of the 5 guarantees given during the time of vote bank which they wanted to create, and the vote bank they have done it, and the 5 guarantees. Now there's a whole money is empty in the treasury of Karnataka. So because there is no money available, they are there trying to somehow adjust the expenditure somehow here and there. Probably that is the reason why they have purchased the cheap rate coal. With the cheap rate coal, the content, other than the coal, is content in the coal is very high. So sometimes the power generation unit may go out of order. So they may not even declare that the power unit has gone out of order. So by increase to 15,000 megawatts, and because of the drought, say this kind of problem is arise, and now the industries are facing a problem. Major GDP growth and the production and the revenue comes from the industry, not from agriculture. Agriculture is a free power. So the government has to now wake up to provide the power to industries favorably so that revenue generation takes place.
Right. S.M. Jamdar, what is the problem, and why do you think that this is a solution which of course should have been accounted for since a long time ago? Mr. Jamdar? All right, perhaps Mr. Jamdar is not available. Revati Ashok, if you can hear me? Or there seems to be a problem with some connections there. We'll get that sorted out momentarily. Dr. Krasta, I'm going to come back to you. This is obviously going to be a big problem for all those companies who have been working in Bangalore, who in fact are putting out their best to make Bangalore not only the IT hub, the investment hub, the startup hub, but also a city which is looking into the future. How is any city going to do that without power? And what kind of challenges has the Congress party in the state failed to address?
That's the question for me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, as you rightly stated, and I had also stated that the GDP growth takes place only in the business. And the business, be it manufacturing, be it services, be it any business or a mall or even a shop and establishment, if they don't have power and if there is a shortage and if the power has to run on a DG set when there is a power cut, so the cost of power is very high. So that cost may not be able to pass on to the customer because the customer rate is fixed. Just because there is a inefficiency of power supply by the government doesn't mean that we can increase the rate for the output. So because the customer will lose out. So there is a chicken and egg story whether the Karnataka government will provide a proper power to the businessmen, or they are going to provide the power to the agriculture where there is no revenue generation, or wherever there is a revenue generation, if they don't provide the power, I think industries are going to lose out.
All right. Mr. Sudhakar Shetty, ex-president of FKCCI, also joins us on the show. Mr. Shetty, if you're there with us. Mr. S.M. Jamdar, if you're there with us. Mr. S.M. Jamdar, if you're there with us. All right, no luck. Revati Ashok, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ma'am, can you reflect on the problem? What exactly is going on? And so one second, I'll come to you, sir. Let me rope in Revati Ashok first. I'll come to you momentarily, sir. Revati Ashok, what's the problem? Why does Karnataka need to suffer, from power cuts in this day and age?
I think one of the other reasons, my other esteemed colleague has already mentioned the reason for the shortages that we are facing, excessive demand from the rural areas. Apart from that, we have a shortage of almost 2,000 megawatts because of the weather conditions. The wind generation, both power from wind generation as well as solar power gada, both have been short, and there is a total shortage of 2,000 megawatts from renewable sources. As you know, Karnataka is more than 50% today. It's one of the highest in terms of renewable energy. Unfortunately, there has been a shortage this time because of the weather conditions, and therefore there is that shortage. The other problem really has been the government has never simulated properly the demand and supply patterns, and therefore they always go for short-term purchase of power, which is extremely expensive. If they enter into some long-term contracts, they will not have to resort to expensive purchase of power, which they do year after year. Every year, BPAC has been making a recommendation to the KERC that please direct them to have long-term purchase power arrangements. If you have long-term purchase power arrangements, you can buy power at a competitive rate from the grid, competitive rate. However, every time we find short-term purchase of power at expensive rates, and the cost of power is being passed on to both HT consumers as well as LT consumers, who are the poor citizens who have no voice and who have no other alternative as well. So therefore, you can see that Karnataka in the earlier years used to have surplus generation and yet the highest rate of power in HT. And it actually propelled a lot of private sector consumers to move out of taking power from the government, and they move to other private sources. Now we are in a bind where because of other reasons, the renewable power sources have gone down. There is also about 2,000 megawatts is a shortage, and there might be some other reasons why it has the demand has gone up, and there is a mismatch. At least now we see that there seems to be some direction to say that KPTCL must make some long-term arrangements for purchase of power from Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, etc. We hope this will be done at some competitive rates with high quality of and good reliability. If that is done, hopefully we will tide over this difficult situation.
All right, let me rope in S.M. Jamdar, former Power Secretary of Karnataka, also into this conversation. Mr. Jamdar?
I have heard the two speakers so far.
Please respond, sir. Yes.
The representative of the PCKL is all right. I understand his enlightened self-interest demanding power. I also understand the lady member speaking why the power deficit is there. But I don't understand her point that there must be a long-range advance procurement agreement with the future would-be suppliers. That argument is fair enough. But question is, a long-term agreement has its own financial costs. You must know that. And last 4 or 5 years, Karnataka had a surplus power. This time, why it is suffering is, as you have rightly observed, one is Karnataka is one of the very few states which has very high, up to 5,000 megawatts of hydel power. Now, because the dams are not full, they're not even half full, that deficiency cannot be overcome this year at all. Now, I don't understand why solar power should go down. Maybe it's a question of maintenance or some of the problems they have to take care of it. However, every member here in this discussion must remember that conventional energy, whether it is solar power or wind power or cogeneration power, have their own built-in weaknesses. Number one, solar power is basically daily about 8 or 9 hour power. It is not available 24 hours. And wind power is regional and seasonal. So that also is not available during certain regions, during certain seasons, and in certain regions you cannot generate the wind power. All that the load center does means load center is a place where you have all the inputs, power, incoming power will be coming, it will be measured and it will be distributed, redistributed according to the different requirements at different sectors. Now, additionally, one must appreciate two problems in Karnataka, 3 problems. Number one, Karnataka is the only state today which gives free power for irrigation, which is a very heavy demand. Whatever is the demand, that's more than 1/4 of power goes to that. And then Karnataka also gives free power to poor households, Nirantara Jyoti. In addition, this year, after the election, the current government has announced up to 200 units of free power. That's in addition to what was already there, Nirantara Jyoti. So these 3 types of free powers plus running deficit together have led to a kind of the deficiency in power supply. So load shedding is inevitable. Now, within the available resources, first of all, whatever we can enhance. For example, if we can get coal, our thermal power stations in Bellary and Raichur are capable of meeting the demand to a large extent. But unfortunately, coal shortages are also equally serious, and imported coal cost is very terribly high, and we cannot afford to buy huge quantities of imported coal. That is one problem. Now, second problem is, you see, as you rightly pointed out, SG users are also high powers, are also high payers. So government would like to earn more revenue by supplying power to SG consumers in the industry, and also the industrial houses and IT sector, etc. They also take power 24 hours. So the government would not like to lose that sector. But the question is, when you have a power of shortages, you will have to have a kind of equitable distribution among the various demand sectors, industry, business and services, and domestic lighting, street lighting, water supply. All these are priority sectors. So therefore, situation has arisen this year. I hope next year it would not be there, because solar power may be repaired, and wind power, of course, is unpredictable, and hydel may be a little better if we get good rains. To overcome this shortage, we definitely have to purchase from outside. And unfortunately, many states are also reeling under drought. That's another thing. There are very few states which are power surplus. We have to buy. We have to buy. It will cost the state exchequer very heavily, and we may be in for further escalation in the power prices. It's inevitable. Which government is in power is irrelevant. Whichever government party is in power, they have to go in for buying power, purchasing power from the power exchanges. As you know, there's a huge fluctuation of pricing in the power exchanges, and that fluctuation during the peak hours, morning and evening, you have to avoid it, and they have to purchase during a little less peak hours. So that is the only solution. There's no other solution.
All right. Mr. Sudhakar Shetty? Mr. Shetty, if you're there with us?
Yes, I am with you.
So,
I'm here.
So what do you think is the issue, and what kind of provisions should have been done years ago for this problem, to not mount on the heads of the people of Karnataka at this point in time? This is obviously not only a matter of inconvenience anymore. This is also a matter of, lost growth, lost GDP, lost economy.
I agree your point. At the same time, what three speakers they referred, Karnataka, it is the finding difficult of three generation of the generating the power. One is the solar and the wind and conventional. More than that, they should, they are the government who run the government, they should have the forethoughts, and there was no brainstorming session for the how to manage the power shortage of the power. It is required. I can agree for the John the summary told how we are sufficient power was there, but it is shortage of the power. One is the farmer powers, second is the Nirantara Jyoti, third one Philip Range of the power. It is also more than 14% are there. The same situation was there 2001 when SM Krishna government was there. Karnataka was same time, and it was in the Karnataka is a dark. Now it is a very, very difficult situation in Karnataka. Together, all the management, all the ministry, their concentration towards the
So we've lost your network. In fact, I'm going to go back to Dr. Jacob Krasta and talk about solutions. Solar power is one. Renewable energy is, of course, the way out. But, that needs some sort of a sensitization at the people level as well. Dr. Krasta?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The renewable energy, especially Pavagada, the solar power plant, is huge. I think the producing more than 4,500 megawatts of power. So similarly, they also have a plan of putting the other solar plants in future. Fine, that is a future plan. But when the say 100 days back, when the Karnataka had a surplus power, after 100 days, how that can become deficient? That is actually $1 million question. So yes, I agree with that statistics. Last October, the power requirement was 8,500 megawatts. And this October, it has increased to 15,000 megawatts. When the short supply of rain is when it is coming, why that government is not waken up where there is a highest revenue payer is a business, industry, services, shop and establishment. So how to provide the power, and that should have been planned earlier. So now after the crisis has happened, now you wake up and try and do a power agreement purchases with other states. It is not phenomenal. It is a short-time crisis management. So government should not have a short-term crisis management as far as the power is concerned, because power is a main source of revenue generation. That is the reason why the Karnataka may lose out. Karnataka being the second highest GST payer, that means our improvement in GST to the contribution is very high to the exchequer. So that being the case, the government should have waken up that power being the very important raw material for a business, they should have waken up when you come to know that there is a short supply of power and the idle power projects are going to be in a shutdown. So for which you have to have a standby coal generation. That is the beauty of management. So the coal generation also, we already have very good power plants in Raichur and Bellary. So the coal generation, but I was told the coal by itself, you buy a low quality coal where you don't get so much of power generation. Efficiency reduces. The power generation unit closed down for the maintenance. So probably that is the reason why the power crisis happened in Karnataka. That's my suggestion to you.
All right, Mr. Jamdar, if you're still there with us. All right, Revati Ashok, if you can hear me, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, ma'am, we've almost finished with our conversation. What solutions do you foresee can make life better and, in fact, not create this environment of inconvenience for the people of Karnataka when it comes to, something as basic as electricity today?
So, all my esteemed colleagues have spoken a lot about how can we enhance the power supply. I think we also need to focus on demand and how can we reduce demand by incentivizing people to actually conserve power, And really, we esteemed speakers have also said that a lot of power which is supposedly going to irrigation doesn't get any revenue. Now, if it is going for irrigation, we have done some analysis and we found that the actual acreage under irrigation came down and the power consumed went up. This is over the years this has been happening. And we said that is because there is a lot of power theft that happens along the way. And the people who are, if you ask the farmer is not really getting a lot of the power. It is all getting disintermediated in between. And therefore, we had suggested that please give a direct benefit scheme where directly the benefit of the power goes to the end consumer, just like other direct benefit transfers are there. Do a direct benefit transfer to the consumer of power. And if they do that, at least the wastages and the pilferage which happens along the way, in the name of, there are so many Benami borewells which are there. There are many, many things which are happening. All that can be avoided. So I think one is to manage the supply, which I think there are a lot of activities which the government is doing, and they have assured as well. But I think through use of public policy to manage the demand side.
All right,
and unless the demand side is managed, we will be wasting a lot of power and allowing somebody else to utilize without paying for it.
Great
and the farmer actually not benefiting.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Krasta. Appreciate you being here throughout the program and giving us solutions as well as what needs to be done.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.